Parallel, Vol.1. Prologue, Part 2. Terror seized the Valley of Kiol as the Demon King jumped into the army's center. This action was not one made out of blind pride, but a calculated move to prevent ranged attacks. The broadswords changed to his arms were perfect for ambush situations, as they extended for several meters ahead of him with each strike. This wide range allowed him to sweep away scores of approaching enemies before they could get close. "He seems to be doing well, Alair," Freya, an old maid, remarked from his vantage point on an overlooking cliff. 5 famous good masters flanked him on either side, their respective gazes trained on this battle in the valley. "It is of no consequence," Alair the mage, who had confronted Razznik in the mist, replied. "Those blades, while powerful, possess a fatal flaw." "And what, pray tell, is this consequence?" "It shall present itself soon enough," she calmly replied. Contrary to her words, several minutes passed, and the weaknesses refused to present itself. Razznik continued to slaughter his way through the armies with ease. Chaotic wildfires burned through the Demon King as his swords unleashed his burning wrath on the masses. Despite the Demon King's seemingly inevitable victory, the military did not waver in the slightest, for they had numbers and glory on their side. Razznik had not expected the haphazardly combined army to retain their morale for so long. He examined the combatants before him with a heavy gaze. To his surprise, he recognized the enthusiasm in the adventurer's eyes. It was one that had shown in his eyes for the longest time. Yes, the look in the warrior's eyes was one that could only be brought on by a seemingly insurmountable wall. It was not so much a final vault that was so exciting, but a journey needed to reach a level where you could break down that wall with your strength. It was a journey that usually required a person to throw everything they had at that wall. It was a mission that oozed blood, sweat, and tears. Despite all this, it was an enticing journey precisely because of the promise that just beyond that wall laid your greatest desire. Those with that look were able to keep you in the fight because they knew that while it might take a long time, eventually a crack will appear on that wall, and when it did, it was only a matter of time before it came crashing down. A pugilist dodged to the side as his sword smashed into the earth. He signaled a mage close by who cast a spell on him that significantly increased his speed. The pugilist kept his body low and dashed forward, shamelessly using his fellow adventurers as cover whenever his sword swung down. Soon the pugilist arrived under the Demon King's nose, and before Razznik could retract his swords, the young pugilist launched an uppercut. Boom! Mana exploded underneath Razznik's feet and sent him sliding backwards, barely dodging the attack. "Impressive," Razznik praised as he came to a stop. The short respite caused by that blow granted the adventurers enough time to close the gaps Razznik had opened. The Demon King decided to change his weapon. The swords vanished in a flash of light and a black staff took their place. The staff was another one of his favorite creations. Just as the excited warriors lunged at him, he stomped the butt of the staff on the ground, creating a shock wave that repelled them. He wielded the staff with his right hand, which he placed behind his back, and motioned for the warriors to charge at him with his left. Enraged by Razznik's taunts, the adventurers did just that, but soon regretted it. "His swordsmanship is truly impeccable," Freya remarked as Razznik cleared subsequent waves of adventurers. The Demon King's lightning-fast reflexes were in full display as he repeatedly dodged attacks at the last second, before unleashing a devastating counter-attack to dispatch corps of warriors. "That's not all," Borg, a Lycan warrior, stated, his brown fur ruffled with impatience, itching to join the battle. "He isn't defending any of the attacks from his back." "You noticed," Alair said, "that cape he bears once belonged to the previous Demon King. It is said he never sustained an injury at his back until the day of his defeat." "Then it is charmed," Freya remarked with a low chuckle. "He truly is a frightening fellow." "Aye," Rona, a pirate from the Eurasian seas, said. Unlike the other people on the hill, he was not a good master. However, he ran the greatest pirate crew in all the seas. No one else among them had the same amount of experience facing large monsters, so they enlisted his help. "He faced off the worst of Jones' Locker alone," Rono said. "The man is no ordinary chap." Alera rummaged through her pockets and pulled out a small clear sphere the size of a marble. It was called a rink, and it was a primary source of communication in the land. "Focus on the cape," Alera said into the pearl, and she soon got a shaky yes from her contact in the alley. Razznik muttered when he noticed a group of people hacking away at his back without caring whether it was futile or not. "They have a good commander," he mused as he spun the staff above his head. "But the strategist cannot overturn my might. He roared and struck the staff again on the ground. The adventurers braced themselves for the shockwave, but when none came, they snickered at Razznik, who they thought had finally weakened. However, he exuded a chilling calm as he pointed to the sky. The warriors looked at the sky, instantly turning pale as they gazed upon a frightening sight. Unnaturally dark clouds blanketed the night sky, heralding the chaos to come. Terrifying peals of lightning tore through the clouds and illuminated the battlefield. I suppose it is safe to assume this is his doing? Freya asked. Hey, just how much has that guy mastered anyway? Ronan asked as he balked at the size of the approaching storm. This is where his advantage lies, Alleria said calmly. If the approaching storm had any effect on her, she surely was not showing it. We cannot afford to use any aerial spells because we might hit our allies, but he may fire off as many as he wants. He's got to run out some time, right? Miles, the youngest in the group, spoke up. He was the best archer in the realm. Rumors claimed he could strike down and fly several miles away, hence his nickname. He surely will, Alleria affirmed. Send in the summoners once the storm is past, she said to the ring. On the valley, Raz continued his one-man battle against the army as the rain began to pour down. It started with a light drizzle, but soon turned into a terrible storm, with thick curtains that robbed the warriors of their sights. Well, most. Pugilists and archers had been trained to fight, even in terrible sight conditions, and they surrounded Razznik and at the same time notched their bows. The archers fired off their arrows using the range to mark the whistling sound as their bolts flew through the air. Razznik answered the challenge by switching out his staff for a pair of black gloves. The arrows whistled as they rained down upon him. Razznik remained unfazed despite being faced with these bolts he could neither see nor hear. Instead, he slammed his hands against each other. A shockwave exploded out of his closed palms and shattered the incoming arrows. He appears to be well versed in area attacks, Freya observed, impressed by Razznik's continuous counters. It's only natural, Alleria said, unimpressed. He fought a lot of his battles alone and needed to prevent himself from being surrounded. Missy, you've got a mighty beef against the lad, don't you? Rena said with a laugh. In reply, Alleria gave him a cold glare that froze the laughter in his throat. Almost instantly, a bolt of lightning struck the valley, burning everything around this pot. The true horror of the thunderstorm spell begins, Rhea remarked just as a translucent barrier formed around the group, protecting them. Freya's remark proved to be true. Pandemonium descended into the valley as hundreds of random lightning bolts repeatedly struck the inhabitants. Most of the warriors present were not seasoned veterans. Some had never even experienced a tense situation in all their battling years. It came as no surprise then that the motley band, who were already on knife's edge during the rainstorm, completely fell apart during the thunderstorm. Panicked mages quickly set up the barriers without any strategy. As a result of this, they ended up only protecting those who were lucky enough to be close to them. Unfortunately, most of the shoddily casted barriers were unable to resist the Demon King's lightning judgment, instantly getting shredded to pieces by this lightning. It is scary and all, but won't the lad be struck down by his spell at this rate? Ronald asked. It was a valid point too. The random lightning strikes had a high chance of potentially hitting their caster. I doubt it will hit him, Freya confidently declared. How's that? Ronald asked. Well, he cast it, Freya simply answered. Ronald acknowledged as he watched Razznik. He's a fearsome one, he is. The king plowed through the disorganized army, dodging at the last second every time a bolt crashed down close to him. The gloves he wore imbued him with the strength of 100 men as he broke through armor, shields, and some low-level barriers. This advantage did not last long though, as Alleria rapidly sent out a series of orders. The warriors below collectively cheered as they finally had a direction to follow. The embattled military swiftly carried out their commander's orders. The spear bearers amongst the army stabbed the tail end of the longest weapons in their inventory into the earth, so the blades pointed at the raging sky. These extended weapons acted as conductors, causing the lightning bolts to strike them and travel down the shafts into the soil. The adventurers cheered at their commander's brilliance. With only a few words, he had rendered the greatest threat completely harmless. Alleria's second order saw a regiment of mages gather at the back and begin casting a spell to counter Razznik's storm. Her third and final order, however, was the most effective. Troops consisted of knights and marauders surrounded the Demon King with the intention of holding him at bay. While they held him off, the remaining adventurers merged into small parties of 5 to 7. This This is a tactic used in major battles against numerous foes. You think we would be forced to employ it against a single man, Freer said with a chuckle. He is by no means an ordinary man, Miles argued, and unconsciously tightened his fist around his bow. This action did not go unnoticed by the others, but they could not say anything because they all felt the same way. Razznik noticed a change in the atmosphere around the adventurers and was doubly impressed by their commander. Their relentless attacks had managed to crack his armor in several places. The legendary Demon King's cape was also no more, reduced to tatters by desperate warriors. Despite this, Razznik remained unnervingly calm, almost detached even from his dire situation. This confidence, based on results both he and the world were aware of, struck fear into the hearts of his opponents. At this point, a sudden change occurred on the battlefield. A ray of moonlight pierced through the dark clouds and descended on the silent Demon King. To the warriors, it was like the goddess Aether had shot down an arrow of light to rescue them from the perpetual darkness. Razznik looked up at the clouds, a bemused look in his gaze. He turned to look at the people standing on the overlooking hill. Honestly, you think a commander could make this much difference in a war? Razznik was someone who always fought his battles alone. He had never experienced what it was like to be led by a competent commander. Contrary to the fascinated imagination of the warriors, it was the mages gathered at the back of the army who had finally broken the spell. The excited mages did not forget to cheer for the marauders and knights who had not hesitated to put their lives on the line to buy their comrades enough time to complete their missions. It did not matter that they had lost over half of their numbers in that period. Razznik watched the survivors return to their respective parties, where they received quick healing and praises from their friends. The Demon King could not help but wonder if he had missed something in his quest to become the strongest. Were the sacrifices he made worth the result? Unfortunately, time was one thing he would never be able to control. Even if someone granted him that ability, Razznik was not entirely sure he would change anything. He did not hate who he had become. The army, oblivious to the Demon King's musings, readied itself for the second round of combat. This time, however, the military would function as a cohesive unit. A frightening prospect made it even worse by the sounds of howling coming from the rear. Damn, Razznik cursed. The howls came from a tribe called Beast Tamers. Their attacks primarily stemmed from the beasts they defeated and tamed. These beasts could range anywhere from direwolves to griffins and in some sporadic cases, dragons. Flying beasts, however, were of no use in a one versus many battle. In this kind of fighting, it was now impossible to target a single person within a sea of people accurately. There was a much higher chance they would only end up striking their allies. Flying beasts could only be used in either large-scale army battles, one versus one battles, and a battle against a colossal or flying monster, like an ogre or a dragon. That left only a few choices, and sure enough, the house, accompanied by roars and hisses, rushed closer through the mass. A magnificent display, Razznik complimented the adventurers. I shall offer my respects by going at full strength from here on out. As he said so, his armor cracked to pieces and fell to the ground. Instantaneously, a bright light enveloped his body. It soon disappeared, revealing the Demon King in his new attire. Gone was the full-plate armor, replaced by a sleek black trench coat and a similarly colored pair of leather pants and combat boots. Faintly glowing runes lit up the jacket, trousers, and boots, a subtle hint to the real power within. A pair of slim twin swords Razznik twirled like kitchen knives replaced his gloves. Even his mask had changed to a pure white mask, with claw marks that ran from the bottom left to the top right. If compared in painting, most would claim the Demon King's heavy armor was far more intimidating. But to those who stood there in front of him, Razznik had never appeared scarier than he did right then. Prepare yourselves, Elias said to the masters, our rule shall soon be upon us. Indeed, Freya confirmed. Even he could not stop the feeling of goosebumps which would be impossible for one such as he. An assortment of direwolves, spirituals, chimeras, giant cats of all species, and a rhino busted through gaps in the formation. The beast quickly surrounded Razznik and then lunged at him. In response to the threat, Razznik snorted and dashed towards the rhino. He grabbed the beast's horn and instantly brought his charge to a sharp halt. A loud crack rang out as the rhino's neck snapped under the strain. Razznik paid no attention to the rhino's dead throes as he grunted and swung the crops around himself, knocking over several monsters like dominoes. Razznik released the beast mid-swing and it crashed into a group of adventurers. The rest of the creatures, undaunted by his display of strength, continued their attack. Razznik's red eyes blazed within the mask as he placed the hiss of his sword together. The swords merged into one at their grips and formed a double-ended sword. Razznik swung the weapon around himself as the monsters arrived. Blood once again poured like a fountain as it repeatedly tore through flesh like paper. Whoosh! Razznik one-sided massacre was interrupted by an arrow that whizzed past him as he dodged a lunge from a wolf. A couple of bolts and spears launched at him at the most promising moments, alerted the Demon King to their locations and intentions. The army used the animals as bait and aimed for those moments when he was in the middle of dodging as an attack. These moments were the best time to aim at him, as it would be challenging to execute a follow-up dodge. Indeed, with over 100 projectiles aiming for that one moment, some were bound to hit. Clever, very clever, Razznik admitted. This commander was truly one of a kind. The range attacks increased in intensity as Razznik slaughtered the beasts. He soon decided it was time even the odds. Still occupied by the beasts, Razznik started a chant that increased in pitch and intensity with each word that passed. Servi Domini, Mesque Invocant, Ego te inserite me vinci, he started. Impossible, Freya screamed when the chant started. His relaxed demeanor shouted by the new revelation. His reaction was shared by everyone else as they realized the daunting truth. Formatum ex sanguinibus, convenant usc inferum dium, secunderunt undic ustes, e carant amena min, the chant continued, uninterrupted by the beast lunging at Raz. He's a summoner too? Mars muttered. Rune Master, Master Crafter, Sword Master, Sage, Healer, Battle King, Knight, Marauder, Rogue, Assassin, Runner counted off. And those are just the ones we know of, Miles continued. What kind of monster is he? That is not all, Elaria calmly said. What do you mean? Blog growled. His forge stood on end and his eyes had gone dark yellow, a sign he was already preparing for combat. As planned, he has been forced to use his trump card, Elaria replied. You shall witness his power soon, and also the reason why I requested you all wait behind. Razznik continued his chant. Nune implerant, pactum quid fecimus, persuited inimicus meos. Razznik chanted, his voice rising higher and carrying through the crowd. What do you reckon this asshole will summon? Runner asked. Something we are yet to witness, was Aleria's chest reply. Ut quod reatus sanguinimus, pretio ut possit dissolvi in sanguine, ubi facta fruit. Razznik yelled as his sword pierced through the final chimera's mouth and ripped his jaw off. Papa Mandela suddenly appeared randomly across the field. A host of demons and undead rose from this portal. These were the army of the Demon King, their allegiance forever tied to him. Razznik had never summoned this army to battle, and he had to praise the adventurers for forcing him to use this move. The immediate repercussion of the spell was that the adventurers could no longer solely focus on Razznik. However, this reality did not break their spirit. Since they were already in small groups, they treated the demon horde as a regular raid squad would. These are not as bad as we thought, Freya sighed with relief. Overestimation was always a part of battle. They just never thought that word could be used in tandem with Razznik. No, it is not over, Elaria repeated with a frown. The true threat has just arrived. A roar like 1,000 thunderclaps, accompanied by the unmistakable beating of wings, tore through the land and could be heard clearly several leagues away. A shadow larger than anything ever seen blocked the moonlight, and everyone trembled with fear as Skyrim, the lord of all dragons, descended upon one of the mountains overlooking the valley. Skyrim was the epitome of what it meant to be colossal. His wings, when unfurled, could block the sun over most cities. Dirty gold scales larger than the highest level steel gleamed menacingly under the moonlight. The king of dragons roughly balanced on the mountain, and a pair of bright yellow eyes burned with flames as it scanned the battlefield. Those eyes finally rested on Razznik, towards whom they showed equal parts contempt and respect. I see, Skyrim boomed. I shall end everything, he declared, and mana began taking a physical form of fire in his mouth, increasing in size with each passing second. Cries of "What now?" and "It's over" could be heard among the adventurers' ranks as they fell to their knees in despair. But once again, Elaria spoke, not through her link shell, but out loud, using magic to project her voice around the battlefield. Stand up, she yelled. You are all gathered here for various reasons. For honor, for power, for glory, for fame. Whatever your reasons, I implore you, forget about them for a second and look at yourselves. You are all still alive, not by your power, but through the sacrifices of those before you. Now look to your side, to the mage or warrior by your side, who fights with you. Indeed, the foe is powerful, True, his power is immense, but there is one thing that sets you apart from him. One strong power you possess that he does not. That is the strength of a party. Those you abandoned with raid, rob, and drink. Those who agonize with you when you lost something precious. That is your strength. So when next you feel like it can't go on, look to your partner and realize one thing. You are not alone. So fight. Abandon fear and fight. Protect your partners and fight. And at the end of the day, if you fall with a smile. We stand with you and you stand with us. Together, nothing can defeat us. She softly finished. A sword in one hand and a beer in the other, Ronan yelled out, following Alera's lead. A sword in one hand and a beer in the other, someone repeated in the valley. A sword in one hand and a girl in the other. Another shouted, causing laughter to erupt around him. A sword in one hand and gold in the other. A third shouted, and soon various chants echoed across the valley. The warrior's spirit rose to a fever pitch as a collective roar surpassed even Skyrim's roar. The wind carried the army's fierce desire to the neighboring countries. Citizens of various nations all around the world knelt on the ground wherever they were and offered their prayers to the goddess Aerith. Watch over our children, Great One. Grant them the strength to conquer the Demon King. The prayers of a united world could not be looked down upon. Pillars of light burst from the ground and enveloped all the warriors in the valley. The adventurers cheered as they felt their strength double, no, triple. Filled with vigor, they charged at the warrior. Razznik gazed at the pillars of light with a complicated expression. He gazed up at the skies and muttered, "Do you hate me that much?" Demon King let out a wry chuckle as he looked down at the charging adventurers. No matter how one looked at it, wasn't he the bad guy in this scenario? Not that it mattered, but that camaraderie opened a wound in Razznik's heart he did not know existed. It angered him, annoying, frustrating. Why did they get to be so happy? Razznik refused to accept that his choice was wrong. He became the strongest in the world where the powerful ruled. What gave them the right to smile like that? Razznik let out a rage-filled roar filled with defiance. The white of his eyes turned red as he descended into berserk mode. As if sensing their master's rage, the infamous 12 series appeared around him. "Let's go," Alera ordered, and the masters were launched towards Scream by her magic. A host of fighters who had been waiting on the hillside by her orders also jumped into the valley and made a beeline for Razznik. No more mercy. Razznik growled as a black aura emanated around him, and suddenly he was gone. Half a second later, a cry was heard on the other side of the battlefield as Raznik's hand pierced through a chest. Razznik threw away the already dissipating body and disappeared. He appeared for a brief second in front of a young female mage and made to impale her, but two men stopped to strike and a third ran a sword through his stomach. "You've had enough fun," one of them said. In the end, it did not matter who spoke because Razznik had already marked them all for death. The Demon King spun his hand around, launching one of the men into the sky and the other head first into the ground. Before they could recover, he drew out the sword in his stomach, twisted around and decapitated the one who had stabbed him. Without wasting a breath, he finished his spin and beheaded the one on the ground before the weapon dissipated. He grabbed his black bow from the 12 arms circling him and shot an arrow that pierced through the skull of the warrior in the air, instantly claiming his life. The corpse dissipated before it reached the ground. "I said no mercy," Razznik coldly stated, but the adventurers no longer balked at him. Spurred by their commander's voice, they jointly rushed at the Demon King with everything they had. "Truly, an annoying commander," Razznik said through gritted teeth as he rushed to greet them. This is the end of Volume 1, Prologue, Part 2 of the Prologue of Parallel. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and consider supporting me on Patreon. See you all on the next episode. Bye. Bye.